righty. It is 4:22 Eastern Time, 2:22 in the Mountain Time Zone where I am located, and really excited to be diving in and talking some baseball with our next guest. He worked for the Blue Jays for 15 seasons and now is involved in What's Your Call Sports. Erik Grosman is joining us. Erik, I hope I pronounced your name, last name properly. We haven't actually formally met or chatted. Is it Grosman or Grosman?
It's Grosman.
Grosman, excellent. Well, welcome to the program. First of all, this is the one of the most exciting times in sports. We have all these sports starting, and we have baseball rushing to the end. Does it feel different this year? You've been involved in baseball for so long, and still, does it feel different with a lot more playoff spots up for grabs, or does it make it more exciting for you?
I mean, for me personally, I think, well, first off, thank you for having me on, Dean. I really appreciate it. Yeah, for me, I'm fine with, like, it is exciting. It's more exciting. Look, I've like I can refer to it, like, having been, I worked for the Jays for 15 years. There was a time back, I started in 2002 to 2017. There were many years where we're competing against, when I was with the Jays, we were competing against the Red Sox and Yankees every year, right? And we just didn't have a chance. They were just too loaded. They were just too good. But yet we were still a good team too. So there was no space. There was no room for us, right? And you know this by mid-July. You know that you basically have no shot. So then it's not as much fun because you kind of, like, the end of the story is already kind of written. So in this case, if that applied today, it would be so much. It gives you a little extra oomph, to get going, to get, to go to work and to do all those kind of things. So I love it. I think it's great for the fans. You gotta do it for the fans, right? That's really what it's all about.
It is. I mean, and even still, more teams in the playoffs. And I was watching a Royals game the other day, and I don't even know if there was anybody there. I mean, so many teams, like you said, are so out of it. So this is so much better for the fans and, for the fantasy players as well. We're a fantasy show, and it's great when more teams are involved because, more guys are in the action. That means something. And I just think it's, baseball is one of those sports that sometimes is loath to change. And for years and years and years, the same thing was happening. Remember when it was like two teams getting in? It was so bizarre. Yeah. So this is just progressive. And, I love the throwbacks and things like that, but if sports don't evolve, they die. And baseball has to evolve, get more teams, get more fans, more interested for the whole season.
That's what it's all about. Like, it is about evolving. It's okay to change. It's okay. It's, if it's for the better, if it's for the better fan experience, then you got to do it. That's my approach anyway.
I'm with you on that one. So we're going to talk a little bit about, baseball now compared to baseball pre-analytics. And, analytics is one of those things that has taken over every single sport. Overall, do you think analytics has improved baseball? There is a lot of people that would disagree with that and say it's turned baseball into a home run competition. What are your thoughts on analytics, and do they get a bad rap, and how have they changed the game in your opinion?
Yeah, so that's a loaded one. That's a great one. So, I mean, the way I look at it is two different ways. So there's from the team standpoint. Okay, so the team has to do whatever they can to win the game. That's what it's all about. And analytics definitely helps with them to prepare and to win. Just that's it, right? From a fan perspective, I don't like it because, I mean, and I'm new age. Like, I like new things. I like new tech and all those kind of things and analytics. I'm fine with that stuff, but I don't want to. It feels like sometimes I'm watching an algorithm on the field as as I'm watching. So for example, like if you're watching Netflix and you watch a show or you watch a movie, it'll tell you, oh, since you like that one, I'm sure you'll like these next 5 or something, right? That's what it feels like I'm watching. So every defender is where they're supposed to be. So the days of I loved watching Tony Fernandez play shortstop for the Jays and Roberto Alomar play second base for the Jays. I just enjoyed it because they would go in the hole. You remember the Fernandez plays? He would go like behind third, he'd do that flip. I never knew how he was able to get it over there in time, but He always did it. These days, the third baseman's just making a clean play because the third baseman's already standing there, and the shortstop's behind second base, and you have another guy in right field. So like you're taking away again. If you go back to the fan aspect, it's not great for the fan because it's just again it feels like you're just watching algorithm. I'm watching the analytics play out. I'd rather watch. Tony Fernandez was a great shortstop for a reason. The players on the field are there for a reason. So let's see what they got. If they're already ahead of the game, it's not cheating, but if it's ahead of the game, well, there's not much to watch really. It's just kind of like play and go, right? So I missed that part of it. But from a team perspective, it makes total sense. Got to do what you got to do to win.
Yeah, I look at the shift and my reasoning. I host a baseball show and I like to end it every show saying ban the shift because I hate it. Yeah. I hate seeing Manny Machado play right field. It just is weird. Yeah. But to me, the shift is baseball's version of the trap in hockey. It's the trap. Remember the New Jersey Devils won Stanley Cups and lots of teams clogged up the neutral zone so you couldn't do anything. And baseball is just clogging it up. I love the range. Alomar, Fernandez, Ozzie Smith, the great players. We don't get to see the range as much. Like I'm watching this Blue Jays game right now. The ball was hit exactly at Chapman. And he was right there. And it's
exactly because they know exactly.
That's it. So I think just the shift in general is going to be so huge. It's going to help a lot of players, obviously, because there's going to be holes again. Do you think we're going to substantially see averages and things like that rise next year?
Oh, that's another great question, Dean. Like, I do. If the shift is gone, then there's more areas now. There's more areas. And like, if I had $1 for every time someone said, well, why don't they just hit it where they're not? Like, why don't they just, if I had $1 every time, first of all, I mean, right? It's like, A, it's not that easy, and B, but that's what they want. The reason why they're giving it to you is because they want you to do it. It's like a mouse trap, right? You set the trap, mouse will take no, I'm not going there. That's what you wanted to do, right? So that's why the guys are still going for the fences. But like, that's a great example about the trap. Like, I never thought of it that way either. Again, what's the incentive, right? What's the incentive for the team? Well, we're going to play a trap because that's the way our team is built, and it's going to be really boring, but we're going to probably win a lot of hockey games. The incentive for the fan is to be entertained. So again, it always comes back, for me, it always comes back to that. But yeah, I would imagine averages would go up if there's more areas to hit them in, right?
Yeah, and the bigger base is interesting to me. Like, I don't think immediately we're going to see a whole lot more steals, but I think maybe in the second half of the season we might, because managers are going to realize that, I just have a better chance of getting there, that extra whatever half inch, whatever it might be. So I think it might be cautious for a while, and what it might do is just create more attempts, which should create more steals, which should create more exciting baseball. I don't know if it's going to happen right away, but that's obviously the logic behind it. And I hope we see an uptick, at least in the second half, when teams have had a chance to study it a bit.
But that's just it. Like, isn't it though? Like the stolen bases, that aspect of it, that's fun. Like, I'm only going to think about it from a fan. If I'm going to take 3 hours or 3.5 hours of my day to go to a game and to watch the game, to be entertained, that's what I want to see. That's the fun part. Did you know that there's only, like, I don't want to sound like an educational thing here, but like, there's only, if a game is an average of, let's say 315, I think it is, or 310, I think is an average game, there's only 30 minutes, I heard, 30 minutes of real live action, like actual things happening in fair. I don't even know if it's counting foul balls. So like, I believe it's just in action 30 minutes of the 3 hours is actual baseball moves, right? So that right there is, people you don't really think about it like that, but you want to be entertained, and you got to do it from the fan perspective. It has to be like, that's really, you look around, like you said, in Kansas City, nobody's there, maybe because the team's not good, maybe not, I don't know, but the attendance is down. There's no question about it. So how are we going to fix that? I think that's really what they're trying to do here, right? Yeah. How are we going to get more people to actually come in and watch the game, like in person?
Yeah, and one of those things is making the game shorter, and that's why pitch counts are going to help, because people's attention spans, kids don't have 3 hours a lot of times, so I think the pitch counts are good. Do you ever see, you can watch a game every single night and pick out strikes and balls that missed and all this stuff. Do you ever see Major League Baseball actually going to robotic umpires? I don't ever see it actually happening. And I'm torn. On one hand, I complain about bad calls, but I like the human element. So I don't really know, as much as I want to get it right and I like instant replay, I do like the human element of the game. Where do you sit on that?
Oh, for sure. Like I love the human element of the game. Like everybody makes mistakes. The players make mistakes. The managers make mistakes. Like that's just what happens, right? But this thing, like the robotic umpire kind of thing, like it's weird because every umpire has their own version of what a strike is. Like you would think it's so like automatic. It's like it's so uniform, but really it's not. If you had 10 different umpires or five different umpires call the same game, I guarantee you you'll see a mixed result of all the pitches, like of most of the pitches. That's the thing. Like I remember when I was with the Jays, the scouting department, they had to factor in who was umpiring behind the plate that day. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, and here's the thing about robotic umpires, the other part. So it's a camera that's there's 3 cameras that be set up in the back, and it'll tell the umpire if it's a strike or not, right? So the umpire is still behind there. So they get something in their ear. It's like an earbud, like an ear pod. They'll be like, ball, strike, right? So what the only good thing it's going to do, I think, is like, the plays where there's either a stolen base or there's a cross up between the pitcher and the catcher, where the catcher has to stand up for something. The umpire has no chance of getting that right. Like they can't see it. They're really just guessing at that point, right? So you're going to take the guessing out. And again, you're taking out that objectiveness. It's like, well, this guy thinks it's a strike. That guy doesn't think it's a strike. Well, now it's going to be the same for every single guy. And what's the other thing, Dean, is like, we all know about umpires. Like, so if during the game, a player, like let's say a batter or a pitcher, kind of like, does something where it bothers the umpire, like they kind of show them up or do it, they'll hold it. They hold these grudges. That's gone. The grudges is gone. And you know what else is gone? When it's a 10-2 game in the 9th inning or 8th inning and everybody wants to go home, right? The umpire can't decide what, if he's going to call a guy out. And a lot of times nobody would even complain because it's like, yeah, it's already been 3 hours. We all gone through 7 pitchers already. Yeah, let's get a move on. I agree with you. That's gone because it's all going to be fair. But maybe for a pitcher standpoint, maybe if more calls are going to be right, maybe there's less pitches thrown. Maybe starters can go longer. I don't know. I'm guessing really because I don't know how it's going to go, but I think we'll find out.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and you're right. There'll always be an umpire there, and they're just getting told what it is, and that's something when we talk a lot about fantasy and impacts that are out of your control. Umpires making calls certainly out of our control, but something else that you focus on a little bit too is managerial changes, and you look at a certain player on one team, and a new manager comes in. Maybe they're not as aggressive, and their stolen bases go down, or different things. Managerial changes. And I don't know why we don't. We got to figure out a way to have a manager fantasy position as well, or something that takes into account some of those decisions. But that has such an impact on the fantasy forecast for the next year, whether it's mid-season, like we saw with the Jays, or off-season. And I think there's probably a few candidates for managerial changes just when it comes to health. Tony La Russa in Cleveland. There's obviously talk about potential change with health as well. So that's an impact that fantasy managers need to be watching out for, especially in baseball.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the manager, like an umpire, the umpire has a lot of influence on the game. They can, they could decide like it's in their hands, right? Same with a manager. The manager decides the line. Well, that's debatable sometimes now, but like a manager is supposed to decide the lineup. A manager is supposed to decide how long a starter is going to go. The manager is supposed to decide what relievers to bring in. So from a fantasy standpoint, from a managerial fantasy aspect of it, there's so many intangibles that go into it. And it is such a hard job. I hope people understand that. I hope people know how hard it is. And a lot of the stuff's off the field. You don't see it. The best managers sometimes, I know this doesn't really work, or maybe it does work for fantasy. It's a lot of things that happen off the field that makes or breaks a manager. How they clear up those issues, like those. There's always problems every day.
Yeah, it's you're juggling talent, and this is professional sports. You're also juggling egos, and especially in a sport where guys are put in great lineup positions sometimes, the heart of the order, and not so great lineup positions sometimes as well. And figuring that out is a science, and that can have a huge impact on your fantasy player too, where they get stuck in the lineup. George Springer was a leadoff guy in Houston, and different guys move around. So that's also interesting because baseball, just like hockey, you get put on a first or a second line, you get put in the third top half of the order, you obviously get more opportunities.
That's just it. There you go. It's all about, yeah, right. So like if you're, it's so true. If you're batting first, then you might get a different selection of pitches throughout the game. If you're batting third or fourth or fifth, a lot of it depends on where you are. So who's in front of you? And if there's a better hitter in front of you, a pitcher might exhaust themselves on that player. And when they get to you, they're like, oh, okay, now we can kind of not relax, but I can start throwing more fastballs, and that player will benefit from it. So there's a lot of things at play. And the manager's job is always to make sure that it's in the team's best interest, not necessarily the player's best interest. But again, depends on the manager, it depends on the team, it depends on the player. There's so many intangibles that are in play always. It's a tough job.
It really, really is. So you were with the Blue Jays for 15 years, obviously, 15 exciting years, and now the excitement is back. They're losing today, but this is certainly an exciting team, and I look at this team, and so much hype was obviously with those young hitters. I just love this pitching staff, and it's really grinding. Like what Ross Stripling has done in the last little bit has been incredible. Gausman, Alek Manoah has been awesome. I don't think this pitching staff is getting enough credit because I think the hitters get so much of the hype.
I'll just say this. I don't want to play them. I wouldn't want to play them. I wouldn't want to play the Blue Jays. I really wouldn't if I'm another team because go look at the success of the previous winners. Like, what do they have that the other teams didn't? Three solid starters, right? 3 solid starters, awesome offense, great closer. Like they got all the makings. They have all the makings. It's all there. I actually, to be honest with you, I would pick them. I really would.
Over anybody
I think they have
in the
best
American
shot.
League?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That would be. I mean, if you asked me, I'd say them. I would. I wouldn't want to play them. I like them, and I like Houston.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, but again, you know what? It doesn't matter because like everyone, like the Yankees, Yankees, great. Like they could win too. Like why not? Right? They're a great team. The Yankees, but I don't want like when it comes to playoff time, and if Aaron Judge doesn't have any home runs or if he's batting .215 or whatever, and everyone's going, Aaron Judge is not showing up. He's not performing well. Well, it's not fair. It's not fair. Like. To put for baseball, you can't put anything on one player's shoulders for baseball. It's just so hard.
Yeah. Unless
you're like a closer or something, because they're gunning for you. Like they're told that the opposing team is told, I don't care who beats you. I don't care if it's any other 8 guys. Fine, like shake their hands. We are not going to let Aaron Judge beat you. So what I mean by that is like what's going to make or break Aaron Judge in the playoffs is if he doesn't swing at bad pitches. Because he's going to get a whole bunch of bad pitches. They're going to say, just take first, please. Like, just go. Like, so if he starts swinging at bad pitches, it's over for him. If he leaves those pitches, if he leaves them and leaves them just take a walk and leave it for the next guy, at some point, be like, okay, you know what, guys? We got to pitch to him now because there's actually guys on base. Like, we're going to have to do this at some point. And if he's patient, I'm telling you, that was what made Jose Bautista so great. It wasn't the home. Of course, it was the home runs, but It wasn't the home runs with Jose Bautista. Jose Bautista's success was because he didn't swing at the bad pitches. He was so patient. He's like, at some point, they'll have to pitch to me. I know they will.
Yeah. And that's what led to the home runs.
Yeah, and that's what led to exactly. Yeah. So, because the Yankees are so one player dominant. I like the balance for me is so if this one player struggles, if Guerrero struggles, well, there's this guy, and if that guy struggles, well, there's that guy, and if that guy struggles, well, there's 2 more guys ready to go. So. That's for me what I see. The Jays have what it takes.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would throw a fastball to Aaron Judge.
That's what I mean.
Silly.
Yeah, and they won't. And if he's gonna, it's just to put all that on one player's shoulders. That's a lot.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. It's exciting. Hopefully the Jays can get back into this. As we were talking, it's so funny. 2 balls hit directly at Matt Chapman. He didn't have to move, exactly what you were talking about. So I'm glad that changes are on the way, and hopefully these changes can bring some excitement, because I love the game, but I know it gets tiresome having to defend baseball for the length and, you know, sometimes the boring games and things, because there is so much great stuff about the game if you can just get into it a little bit, and that's going to take change, and change is coming.
Absolutely. I do agree, and like you just said, like, you got to look at they got to look at it from a fan perspective. It has to be for the fans' best interest. That's really what it takes. Like you said, like, it's slower. Like, who's sitting around these days for 3.5 hours? They're not going to get any. The people who are already there, like like yourself, like baseball fans, or me even, like, if you're still going to watch, you're still going to watch. But if you want to collect the new generation, they're all watching faster, more crazy, more digital sports. Like, if you've heard of fan-controlled entertainment, fan-controlled football, they're coming out with fan-controlled baseball next year. I know one of the people who works there, and just wait till that happens. It's basically anything that you want, and the fans will dictate. The fans will pick and choose what they want to see and what they don't. You know, so that's the new world. I love what you guys are doing. I think this is the next generation. Like, this is what it's going to be. This is what sports consumption is going to be, and we just want to be entertained, right? Right. That's all it is. So whatever you have to do or don't do is really what it's about. So everyone kept saying about Matt Chapman, great third baseman. All I kept hearing, great third baseman. Well, he's still standing in the same. Now he still has to make the play. Sure. Like, he still can't do it. He still can't commit an error. He still has to make the throw. He still has to pick it up clean. Like, and I'm sure he's been challenged, but really, how great is he if he's already in it? They already know where the ball's going to go before they get there. So it's the same thing, like, back to the Netflix thing. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what you are all about. You love these kind of movies and you love those kind of shows, and you're going to watch them again at this exact time. You know all the answers to the test before the test is given to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what it comes down to. And I don't want to watch that. I want a little surprise, little element of surprise, a little bit of, like, like third baseman's playing at third, short's at short. Really, like, it's that simple. That's all I want to see. I want to see why these guys are in the major leagues to begin with. Their talent, it doesn't come out so much, exactly. as much as it used to.
Quickly, let's talk about What's Your Call Sports. Tell us about baseball fans home plate.
Yeah, so What's Your Call Sports is basically, we're just we like to share content. We're just sharing baseball content. We want the people who are following us on YouTube, or any fans to give us their best call or worst call, or their judgment on how the umpires are doing. It's a lot of times we isolate these plays. We isolate, a play at the plate, like those ones now where it's like, did the catcher, is it obstruction? Did he not give the runner enough? Like, all these new rules that were put in, which I don't think was good for the game. Now we're letting the fans make the call. That's what we want to do. That's why it's called What's Your Call? Because we want you to make the call. We want to isolate those plays, and we want to put you into the hot seat. I want to put you, Dean, I want you to be the umpire and call these plays in real time so you can actually see how difficult it is. We'll just throw up a play and you have to give it to us, right? Just throw it back and say, safe or out. It's amazing how a fact can actually be argued. Isn't it crazy in sports? Yeah. Like he is out by the definition of the rule book, rule 6.13. The runner cannot obstruct this with that or that. But yet you still can get the call wrong on the field, and yet you can still argue an actual fact because it's such a gray area. So we're all about that gray area. We're all about the discussion, and that's what What's Your Call Sports is all about. We want to hear your opinion on how the umpires are doing and if these calls are made right. Because you figure it's a major league umpire. You gotta get it right. Like, that's really what it's all about. You're there for a reason. So we want to show people how hard it is. It's not easy in real time. It's easy when we have 50 different replays, and even then sometimes, right? So here's the play, here's what the call was, or even before you see it, what's your call, right? And and that's what we're all about, just sharing that kind of content.
I love it. So you guys have a YouTube channel. You're on Instagram, WYC Sports. Same with Twitter and TikTok. So basically, people can find you everywhere. Chime in. I love it. I love the debate. That's what one of the reasons I got into sports talk radio is the debate. It's fun. You can And I always say opinions, everybody can have them, and it can't be wrong. But, then you get into facts, and, well, my opinion is that he missed that call or whatever it is. So that's the beauty of sports. And, hopefully people do it respectfully. And, that's why what's even more important is, debate, but debate respectfully and have respect for your fellow fan.
Sports, you're 100% right. Sports and debating is like peanut butter and jam, isn't it? Like it's like they literally go together. And as long as you're doing it like nice, like it's a nice healthy debate. Like there's literally nothing wrong with that. Like when I came up with like the WYC, what you called sports, it was like I always felt like there's three teams on anytime you're watching a game. It doesn't matter what sport, your home team, away team, and then the officials, right? Whether the referees and they have such an impact on the game. Sometimes you go and you leave that game and you're like, wow, like that call blew it. Like we lost because of this or we lost because of that or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they have sometimes just as great a factor as like the players on the field or on the ice or whatever. So that's why we created it, just because it's the third team out there that still has to do the job, and we're there to isolate those plays and figure out what's the call, what is the call. That's the whole thing. We want to know your opinion. We know what the call is by how it was, but really, what would your call be? That's where the debate comes in. We're all about everyone's opinion. Everyone's opinion is great.
Yeah, and everybody loves being armchair officials, so you have an opinion on a call and you voice it. So WYC Sports, what's your call sports? Erik, this has been so much fun. I hope we can do it again, maybe closer to the playoffs or during the playoffs or something like that.
I would love to anytime.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Erik. Take care.
Oh, you take care as well. Thank you so much for having me on.
You betcha. There's Erik Grosman from What's Your Call Sports. Really cool. Check it out. Twitter.com/WYC Sports. We all debate calls. We all do it. I was doing it during the World Juniors. I've done it a couple of times during this Blue Jays game. I watch a lot of Dodger games, and Erik is right. Every single umpire has a different strike zone sort of opinion. More than any other sport, I think baseball umpires are more varied than hockey referees, football umpires, things like that. But that's what makes the human element exciting. I'm not 100% sure I want robot umpires. I don't know. I just don't know if I do. I love the human element, even when it's wrong. Even with the worst, probably the worst call ever on Galarraga's no-hitter, Jim Joyce making the out call. Even that, I'll take that every once in a while because I like the human element. Just me. So check it out, WYC Sports on Twitter, Insta, TikTok. They're all over the place.